We're going to go through my marketing framework for Christian entrepreneurs and businesses because this is such an important topic. And I've been hearing just recently about our struggles with marketing, and that comes from my clients and from the community that I serve. Thoughts like my competitors are willing to say anything in order to stand out, often untruthful claims, and so I really don't feel like I can compete. And this feeling that marketing is kind of yucky, is a bit, you kind of have to be out there in a way that feels like self-promotion, which doesn't necessarily come naturally. In fact, doesn't come naturally to Christian entrepreneurs. And therefore we tend to kind of opt out and just say, well, my business is going to grow via word of mouth. However, we find ourselves in a moment whereby we have an incredible opportunity if we can approach our marketing in the right way as Christian entrepreneurs. And so I want to dive into that. I want to take you guys through it, through my step-by-step process to help you to really get moving when it comes to your marketing so that your business and your life can prosper for the glory of God. Because if we stay on the sidelines, then we're limiting the number of people that we can serve, the number of people that we can reach. And I would much rather that it's you guys who are reaching the world rather than non-Christian secular entrepreneurs who don't necessarily carry the same values. Now, I've got another video on this, and maybe I'll drop it on screen now so you can go and take a look at my kind of philosophy around this and why I believe it's a great moment, a great opportunity for Christian entrepreneurs to market right now and see real success, real fruit of that. However, the core of this is that we find ourselves at this moment in time in something that's often referred to as a trust recession, whereby there are so many gurus, there are so many influencers online who are giving us all of these incredible offers, not necessarily following through on those offers, and so we find ourselves really struggling to trust in those sources of information. And what that means is that the whole game is trust. Okay, let's take a look at the framework and I'll take you through it step by step. It's a 4-step system that you're going to employ that starts with resonating with your target audience, then moves on to reaching your target audience. This will make sense as we go through it. We're going to relate and build trust, and then we're then going to invite. So let's go through it now, step by step. Now, this whole thing starts with the ability to resonate with your target audience. And in general, I don't see this given enough attention. What that means is that we need to build the ability to connect deeply with our target audience. Now, that starts with something referred to as an ICA, an ideal customer avatar. It's something that we've all heard of, but very few of you watching, I imagine, will actually have an ideal customer avatar written out and in place, certainly one that you feel confident of. An ideal customer avatar defines specifically the ideal customer that you serve or want to serve in terms of their demographics, their psychographics, like how they think and how they operate, how much money they have, where they live, their daily routine, the problems that they experience, and therefore the problems that you help them to solve. And so the starting point of any great marketing is really understanding deeply the audience that we want to serve. Only then can we really serve with Christ-like character or Christ-like impact, because we truly get our audience and can therefore add so much more value. The great thing about developing an ICA in this day and age is that it used to be a really arduous task. Like stopping your day to write that out would feel like it wasn't really productive. Whenever I've been writing customer avatars, it's always felt kind of unproductive because I feel like I'm kind of making it up as I go, and I could be doing so much more productive stuff, is my perception, whereby I could be, producing the landing pages or working on the ads campaign. We tend to jump to the stuff, we don't get the foundations right. Let's get the foundations right today. However, in this day and age, you can leverage AI to come up with your ideal customer avatar, and that's just about putting a prompt in, which is highly effective. For my clients, we have a prompt that we give you guys, and in like literally 5-10 minutes, you've got an ideal customer avatar that you can leverage. From there, you can work on your messaging, and you can ensure that your messaging connects powerfully. Now, the advice that I've always given to my clients is that everything is downstream from product market fit. Product market fit is finding that offering and the message which connects deeply and on which you can build a business upon. Right? And so if you spend time and you get your messaging right, you get your offering right so that it connects deeply, everything is downstream from there. We tend to overcomplicate, right? We think about the how, like how am I going to convert my audience? How am I going to generate leads? When really, if we can get this offering and message right, everything downstream from there becomes easier. Then it's just about where do my audience hang out, and I'm going to show up with that message. Now, one tool that I've always really enjoyed and that I've given to my clients as I've been consulting with them is something that I refer to as a resonance doc. And I've got an example of one here from an old project of mine. A resonance doc is a document that you keep and that evolves with you, whereby anytime you post to social media or you're having a client conversation, you're doing a sales call, no matter what it is, if you find a message that deeply connects, you record it on your resonance doc. Now, I've always thought it's fun to think of this as a game of battleships. I don't know if you've played battleships, whereby if you get the exact right coordinates, you get a direct hit on the enemy vessel that you're looking to attack, right? Maybe not quite the right analogy. And so a direct hit for me is when I've posted something to social media or I've said something in my sales meetings or my client sessions whereby the person sitting in front of me or receiving that message is literally responding to say, you know, that really resonates. When I get one of those direct hits, I add it to my resonance doc, and then over time I'm building a more and more in-depth, accurate picture of the messages that are really going to move the needle with my target audience. I particularly like it for a direct hit to be something that generates a lead or generates revenue. So coming back to the framework, we're going to develop our ideal customer avatar and we're going to ensure that our messaging is on point. We're going to be speaking to pain points and desires of our target audience because we know them deeply, and you can even at this stage take a look at your service offering and make sure that it's a scalable or a model that works for you to build your business upon. We're then going to move on to your reach, and so you can think of this as top of funnel. Now, I'm going to suggest that you move away from the idea of treating this as a funnel, because the reality is that in today's day and age, our buyers don't really buy in a funnel-like order. I.e., you can't predictably say that they'll come in at top of funnel and they'll follow your thread neatly and accurately until they reach the point of buying decision, which would move from top of funnel to middle of funnel to bottom of the funnel, right? Instead, we're going to think of this as an ecosystem that we're going to build where people can kind of move around and draw on, you know, the right areas of your ecosystem as they kind of desire, right? However, I still think it's useful to mention the idea of top of funnel because we're going to talk about building trust with our audience, but it's really important that we have the necessary volume of people, our target audience, coming into this ecosystem so that we can actually generate the results that we desire. Not everybody who comes into our ecosystem is going to become a client. Certainly not, they're not going to become a client straight away. And so we're going to need some volume. That can be achieved through ads, through organic social media content, whether that be your Instagrams, LinkedIn's, whatever it is, posting content organically to the platform, or it could be via outreach. So it might be your LinkedIn messages and DMs. It might be picking up the phone and calling 100 people a day, right? You need to decide on a level of volume that you're going to hit with the activity that you're going to commit to, and then you're going to track the data, right? Knowing your numbers is so important. I've got another video on knowing your numbers elsewhere. So you're going to need to reach people at volume. So when you get to step 3 here, which is really the main piece of this framework, I would say, other than step 1, which is to resonate, whereby we're going to relate and build trust. By the time you get to this point, you've got enough people coming into your ecosystem that they can really be affected by this approach to build trust and build relationship with them. Now, we're Christian entrepreneurs, and I think the idea of building trust when we're in a trust recession is one that we can really get excited about, right? We don't have to make wild claims. We don't have to be self-promotional, but we do have to be willing to shout about the success stories that we've been able to generate through our hard work, the value that we've been able to add to our target audience that makes their life easier, smoother, better, that takes away pain, so that we can take that and we can serve more people with it. And here we're looking to create belief and familiarity. This is all of your content, right? This is everything that you put out into the world. I'm talking the consistency with which you do that. I'm suggesting that you consider some form of long form content, whether it's articles that you're going to write, whether it's a book if you're like if you're selling information and expertise, whether it's YouTube, like the video that you're watching right now. That can do so much to build familiarity and belief. I'm absolutely talking about testimonials. So what are your success stories and case studies? And let's make these central to the way that we market our business. Now, my experience suggests, I've fallen into this trap before, that we tend to treat testimonials as kind of an added extra. Like once a year, we'll generate some testimonials and we'll make them part of our marketing ecosystem. But we don't make them central. And so what I'm suggesting is that your testimonials should be frequent, they should be front and center, they should be absolutely there when your potential clients come to do their research on you, right? If it's products, then it's, your real, raw, user-generated images and videos from your clients and their 5-star reviews. If it's a coaching business like mine, you want to get your clients on camera and make sure you do that with some frequency. And what we're aiming for here are powerful testimonials and case studies and reviews that give people confidence. Now, obviously, we don't want to make up results. These want to be faithful and true. And if we've got that, then we've got something that we can really build a business upon. I've added here as well, your story. Don't be afraid of sharing your story. It's extremely powerful. In the age of a trust recession, people need to know who you are. Even if you're a product or e-commerce business owner, the trend has become to invest in the person behind the business, not just to buy the product. If you own a product business, you'll know that companies in other parts of the world can easily rip off your product, but they can't easily rip off your brand. And so the story behind your brand becomes central. Okay, so this is our big piece of work. This is what we're going to work on consistently and really dedicate ourselves towards. At which point, we're going to ensure that we invite the audience that you've built to work with you. And I think sometimes that's the mistake that we make. We're told to simply add value and the clients will kind of self-select themselves. My experience suggests that when you just give away value, you're kind of training people to just digest your content for free. And so there's a nuance around how you build trust that we would need to grasp. Probably don't have time to go into that in this video, but we also need to invite our client base. We need to call them forwards. Now, that can either be at the top of funnel at the level of ads or organic content, or it can be through retargeting, or it can be through, you've already built that trust and then we're simply going to invite somebody to work with us. I've heard of this being done via DMs. So literally people sending LinkedIn DMs to say, hey, would you like to work with me? Now, the way that this works, so that it doesn't feel contrived and difficult, is through something called I'm looking fors. So the way that works is that you're going to say, I'm looking for this type of person to work with and provide this transformation. I'm looking for this number of my target audience to achieve this transformation before this date, right? You're going to call out your specific audience using your ideal customer avatar, which is going to give you all these in-depth insights, and you're going to speak to them in a way which connects with them deeply to say, I'm going to help you with this thing that you really struggle with or that really connects with you, and I'm going to do it in this way. Hey, are you up for it? I've got a certain number of spots available. So you're going to invite them to be a part of your paid for programs. Resonate, reach, relate and build trust, and invite. And the whole thing presses into authenticity, truthfulness, faithfulness, which suits us as kingdom-minded entrepreneurs down to the ground. I genuinely believe that we have a huge opportunity for the fact that we find ourselves in a trust recession to outcompete the competition without even trying to compete in the first place. We don't have to compete with those wild claims or those irresistible offers that have degraded trust. We just have to show that we're different, and being authentic and true to our faith is the vehicle that's going to get us there. I've actually experienced this with my project right now. I came into this thinking, the last thing that I want to do is treat this project as a reason to advocate on behalf of a prosperity gospel, right? Because I don't believe that's what the Bible teaches. And so I'm just not willing to go there. And so actually, anytime I put out messages which suggest that there isn't a direct correlation between obedience and becoming a millionaire as a business owner, it has a way of generating opportunities and conversations because people see that it's real, it's not overinflated, and that's something that they can buy into, right? Truth is our goal. So I hope that's useful. I hope that you can apply that in your business. I hope that this gives you a boldness to distribute the great work that you're doing, the Christ-like service that you are exhibiting and that you're putting out into the world. All we need to do is capture that and put it into a format so that you can build trust with enough people, with a target audience that you know deeply, and that we then invite to become a part of our world so that we can impact them deeply.